Good afternoon, everybody. It's Coach Byrd, and it is the weekly coaching call where every week I'm going to take you through a different topic to help you move the needle in your production business. This is a production-based call, and it is strictly production. So we don't talk about anything outside of production. It's broker agnostic, so you can invite other agents to it. If you find somebody that needs a little help in their business, a little help in their production business. And I think with the new format, it's going to be cool where I'm talking about a 15-minute topic every week, and then we go into the Q&A so I can support you guys each and every week. It's free. So this is something that should be very valuable for you, and tell others about it. There's no price. It's free, but there's always a price, right? The price of admission is bringing somebody to this call. Invite somebody you care about, somebody in the real estate business to the call, and we'll help it grow, right? We don't do any other self-promotion here. I should probably make some plugs about some different things that we do, but we don't. We keep it valuable. We keep it tight, 30 minutes or less, depending on the questions. And we do it every single week on Monday at noon Pacific time. So this week, we're going to be talking about DMO. Anybody know what DMO stands for? Yes, Hal.
Daily method of operation.
You were listening recently. Good for you. Daily method of operation. And real estate agents are what? We're independent creatures. We're entrepreneurs, right? Sometimes solopreneurs. And in this real estate business, it's very easy just to be reactionary rather than proactive in your real estate business. So when I think of DMO, I'm a military guy, so I always lean back to, what are your daily standards in your operating business? And so when we look at that, I look at it from a perspective of, listen, if you had let's just say you bought a furniture store. In this furniture store, you've got a store that's got to get open in the morning. If you don't have any employees, just like your real estate business, you are everything. You're the security guard. You're the vacuum person. You're the person that's got to put the inventory out. You're the salesperson. You're the closing person. You're the accountant, right? All these things are what happens when we own a traditional business. But when we get into the real estate business, it's kind of the wild, wild west. We can do anything we want to do. So what I want to talk to you about today is a daily method of operation, a DMO in your business, what that looks like, and running your business like a business. And many of us, matter of fact, some of the people on this call have had brokerages, have had teams, have had different levels of real estate exposure. And there's not a wrong way to do it, but there's a lot of wrong ways to do it, actually. I would say there's not a complete, perfectly right way to do it. Everybody has a different business need. There's a lot of wrong ways to do it. But for me, it always starts with my calendar. My calendar has got to prevail in my business to have a business that runs like a business. If you needed to go to the doctor this afternoon, if you hurt your elbow really bad and you had to go to a specialist, or your foot and you had to go to a podiatrist, right? And you had to go to a specialist, do you think you can get in there this afternoon? What's likely going to happen? Right? Speak up. If you needed to take your mics off. If you needed to get a doctor this afternoon, what's likely going to happen when you call?
They're going to tell you to make an appointment.
They're going to make an appointment, go to the emergency room if it's bad, right? If it's bad, go to the emergency room, call 911. When I call my allergist, she's like, if this is a medical emergency, call 911. Don't call us. If you want an appointment, we're 8 weeks out right now. Literally, that's what the voicemail says, right? So how do we run our real estate business? Are we running our real estate business with a planned system like that, where if you call a doctor's office, the receptionist answers, hey, I can get you in. It looks like the first week in December as our first opening. How would you like to have a real estate business that you were in that kind of a professional environment? Right? Is it possible? Do you have a mindset to believe that? Well, the reality is some of the top teams have to function in that way. Obviously, they're not going to be 4 or 5 weeks out, or they'll bring more people on. But getting somebody that afternoon on a top team is very unlikely, right? Because I'm preserving my calendar, my schedule. Now, if they happen to call and I specifically have 2 to 4 in the afternoon to meet with new clients, and I don't have anybody on the schedule that day and they call, I've got that opportunity available because I've done it in advance. But what's the number one thing that we need to put in our daily operating our daily method of operation, what's the number one thing, the big rock that's got to be in your schedule every single day?
Prospecting.
Prospecting. It's got to be the forward facing thing. It's got to be the big rock, right? The reason is because if it's not there, we're going to live in a reactionary time, meaning that we're going to sit at our desk, we're going to start doing stuff that feels really productive, and somebody's going to call and need something. Usually it's more servicing. It's an escrow that's got a problem. It's a home inspector can't get into a house. The septic guy's there and he can't find the lid to the tank. It's some emergency that's going to happen in our real estate businesses that is not dollar producing activity. It's servicing. After prospecting, the number one thing in your real estate business is servicing buyers and sellers, and servicing buyers, which is showing houses and writing offers, and servicing sellers, which is doing CMAs, listing presentations, and servicing those active listings, right? Those are really the only two things in your real estate business that matter outside prospecting. And I would argue that fact with you because everything else is leverageable in this business. Every other piece you may not want to let go of, but I could prove to you it's leverageable. So when we look at this DMO, this daily method of operation in our real estate business, number one, where's your prospecting? We've got a pretty small group on here. I think we could do it in chat, but put in chat either where your prospecting is in your calendar now, 9 to 11, 10 to noon, or if it's not, where you're willing to commit to it, getting into your calendar. This is the big rock. And I want everybody to answer, please, with respect, right? So I see so far, I see 9 to 10, good. I see 9 to 12, 9 to 11, good job. So far we have 1, 2, 3 hours of prospecting time, right? I think everybody's looking like an average 1 to 2 hours a day. 10 to 12 or 1 to 3 of clients appointments in the morning. Okay, good job. If you have, you're displacing it and replacing it, right? You never just want to take it off your calendar. Sonia, I would recommend you put a specific time to it. And if I may coach you, you didn't ask me to, but if I may, I would not have your prospecting in the afternoon. It's the easiest way to derail everything that's going to happen throughout the day in real estate.
I agree, but one of the top ways I like to prospect is to, and I'm trying to do more of it right now coming up on the holidays, is calling my database of past clients. I can't reach any of them until late afternoon once they're off work.
Yeah, so that's a great point. So when I was in my peak of my career, I prospected every day 9 to 11. And then I did it again at night between 5:30 and 6:30 because they were home, right? So anybody I didn't reach during the day, I called again that night at 5:30 to 6:30. And later in my career, I moved it to where I was prospecting 5:30 to 7:30 every day because that's when everybody was home from work, right? Most people, if they're not entrepreneurs, they've got 9 to 5 jobs or they've got a place to be. So prospecting from 5:30 to 7:30 was really the powerful part of my power hour in my business. And I made it fun. I made it a game. I lived on a golf course. I'd grab a margarita, sit out there at 5:30 on my patio, and I'd call for 2 hours. And I made it where I looked forward to it, right? I don't think the margarita was probably the most healthy part of it, but that was my style, right? I actually looked forward to leaving the office about 4:30, coming home, saying hi and loving on the kids and loving on the family, grab a little snack, make a little margarita, go out on the back porch. Wasn't smoking cigars at this time, but I've done a lot of prospecting with cigars.
Well, the biggest challenge with that too is that of course overlaps with prime appointment time because again, people are off work. How do you balance that?
You're breaking up a little bit, but how do I deal with them being off work?
What about now? Is it any better?
Yeah, you're breaking up pretty bad. I'm sorry. You got it almost like you're in a can or something like.
I don't know why. Sorry.
Not the can, a can. But chat it in so I can answer it. I want to make sure I answer it for you.
Randy, I think she said that because we tend to take listing appointments and showing appointments in the evening, the problem she's having is that if that's when you prospect, you find yourself held up with appointments and you can't prospect because you're doing appointments.
Yeah. So obviously you've got, again, we're going to talk about our calendar, right? When we're looking at our calendar, if I'm making time to prospect and say it's 5:30 to 6:30, then that time is blocked out. That's like a doctor's appointment that I had for 6 weeks. That time is blocked out. It's not available, right? And you could say, hey, I can come over if you need an evening appointment for this listing appointment. I can come over at 6:45 after I'm done with my previous appointments. You don't have to tell people that I'm prospecting. You say I have a previous appointment. I should be done by 6:30. Right. And that could be picking up your kids from school, taking them to soccer practice, could be anything. But living by this calendar is what I'm talking about when I talk about DMO. Right. So it just depends on your business. Everybody's different. We are entrepreneurs. In my business, I ran it from a 9 to 5. I literally, in the majority of my business, I'd show up at 7 a.m., not 9. I showed up at 7. MLS was the first 30 to 60 minutes, really digging into the MLS, understanding my market. And I do a couple updates at that time, whether it was through an email update or otherwise. And then 9 to 11 was my prospecting time. So we'd meet with the team at 8:30 or 8:45, do 15 minutes of role play, right? So I had this, everybody started coming in the office at 8, especially the employees, the salaried people and the hourly people. And we'd have our meeting every single day, 8:30 or 8:45. To make sure we're doing prospecting, conversations of scripts and objection handling. I want them practicing on me, not my clients. And then at 9 to 11, I led from the front by starting prospecting. Everybody in my team had to do the same thing at the same time. It was not negotiable, right? This is not a free state. When you're on somebody's team, you're working with and for me. So I want it done my way. Now, independent agents in my office, that wasn't their requirement. It was my team. Right? Or somebody who was in my coaching program particularly. And then 11 to 11:30, I return calls. People know that they come in and talk to me, and that's my time. 12 o'clock, I had a purposeful lunch every day, 12 to 1, tried to get a lunch out of the office, sometimes with employees, sometimes with clients. 1 to 4 was listing appointments. Back to the office at 4, 4:30, wrap up, and I'm out of there by the end of the day. That's a perfect schedule. That's a schedule that is somebody living life on purpose. And if somebody wanted to meet with me at 7 o'clock at night, I was not available for that. My day is Monday through Friday, 7 to 5. And if they had a job or something that required it, we worked around that. Right. But if I just go out of my schedule to accommodate people, then all of a sudden your business is completely out of whack again. And again, there's variations of this, and there's obviously exceptions for every rule. But that's how your doctor runs their business. If you go, hey, doc, appreciate it, but I got like a couple clients coming to town this week. I need to meet with you at 7:30 at night. How's that go over? Be honest. How's that go over?
It just doesn't.
It doesn't. It's not an option, right? They'd laugh you out of there if you even requested that kind of thing. So again, it becomes this mindset of how you're running your business like a business. And your clients will respect that. Listen, when times get tough, we jump in, we do what we need to do. But if you're reactionary and you jump every time a client says something, well, then you're going to continue to be reactionary. You'll never get in front of it and be proactive in your business. Where if you say, hey, I appreciate that. I run my business very much like a business. Got business coaches. I've got, people that are really structured my business professionally so we can bring and add the most maximum amount of value to you as the client. We do care about you. I can meet you in the morning between 11 and 1, and I can meet you in the afternoon between 1 and 4. And if it's outside those hours, we've got to find somebody else on the team that is working a different schedule that can help you with that. But me personally, I won't be able to come by there at 7 o'clock at night. Right. And again, it depends where you're at in your business. If you're buyer heavy, that's a different angle of your real estate business. You've got to make yourself available, usually after working hours when they're available.
Do you find that when you're buyer heavy that you need to be more flexible? Because
when you're buyer heavy, you have less structural, agility to your schedule. You have to be more open just because of the nature of that. Right.
Yeah. Cause I find that particularly with my high end buyers, with the low inventory environment, they basically say, they're living the lifestyle that we're talking about creating, but it's their business.
Yeah.
Like, I'm available between this and this. And if I told them I couldn't, then I would quickly not get phone calls anymore returned.
Yeah. So again, it depends what it is, right? If they need to access a house, I'd say, hey, Patrick, Randy, listen, we're going to get you in that house at 7 o'clock at night because it's important. I mean, you don't care who opens the door, do you?
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm going to make sure I find somebody to open the door for you and show you that house at 7 because it's important to you. I won't be there, but I will be there every step of the way as we negotiate this deal and we get this house for you.
Okay.
Right. And sometimes I wouldn't even tell them until it was like 15 minutes before the appointment. Yeah, I'll meet you there at 7 o'clock. I have no intention of being there at 7, but I found somebody that will be. And Patrick, Randy, hey, listen, I'm running into some other things right now. I've got somebody to cover you. They're going to open the house for you. You don't care who's opens the front door, do you? They're going to show you around. I'm going to make sure you get access to this house because I can tell it's important to you. Now, if it's for you, I'm the guy. I'm going to write this up. We're going to make sure we get this thing. Right. But Julie's going to meet you there in 15 minutes. She'll be prompt. I got you covered. Right. Again, that's a purposeful way to set that up instead of you canceling dinner with your kids or canceling the plans that you had with your family. It's just a way of running business. And the bigger the operating teams, it seems like, well, yeah, they could do it because they have 50, 100 listings a year. They're doing a lot of business. No, I think it's a structural belief in how you want to run your business. Obviously, you got 0 listings, you got 0 buyers, and somebody goes, "Can I see a house at 5:30?" You're like, I'm off at 5. Sorry, that's not going to work so much for me. I don't think that's wise either. That's reckless, maybe even in your business. But as you start gaining momentum in your business, which is ultimately the goal, right, is to create systems and processes and continuity in your business to get out of that up and down, up and down, up and down handicap that we live by being commission salespeople. If you want a Tesla, what time's Tesla close? In my area, they close at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, we tried to test drive one a week ago, and I think it was 6.
Yeah, I think it might be 6 in Salem, but I go, hey, I need to look at one, but I'm working all day in my schedule, and they're like, we close at 6. Can you be here by 5:30? I can get you in one. And I go, is there any way anything? Nope, there's no other way to do it. Now, once I got into their calendar, they were totally flexible. They were like, you could have it overnight and just, we want you to check it out. We want you to love it and be happy. And it was actually a cool experience. But my point is, did they accommodate me because it's 7 o'clock at night? They didn't. They had a business method of operation that they ran by, and their hours were 6 o'clock. 5:30 was the last drive, right? Last salesperson available. And they're booking appointments. Hey, we don't have anything Tuesday, Thursday. We can get you in. We have a 4, 4:30, or 5. What do you want? And it doesn't matter if I work till 5. That's just their business opportunity, right? What makes it different in our real estate business? It's quiet. I get it.
Jarrett says lack of respect. But I think the other thing is when you accommodate so much, like if it was a car salesman and they were like bending over backwards for you, you'd be like, man, they must really not be selling cars to be doing this for me. And I think it's the same thing with our clients, that they think, oh, if you know, it gives off a sense of desperation versus structure and control.
Yeah. And again, if you find your business need is to be showing properties from 5 to 7 or 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, then you could build your business correctly around that, where your daily method of operation is maybe you come in at noon and you work till 8. And you have the morning with your family and your children. You take them to school and you do the extra things like making them breakfast and being there with quality parent time. I'm not saying that 9 to 5 is the perfect schedule for agents. I didn't work weekends from very early in my career, because I chose not to. Being a general contractor, man, I love my weekends off, and my whole life was designed around my weekends. I'd go to the sand dunes Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so I'd take off at noon on Friday. But you have to build a business that is very disciplined to be able to do those kind of things, and you have to have support people and leverage. Right? New in your business career, weekends are where it's at. Weekends are where most people are looking. Weekends are where most people are available. Weekends are where most business is done. Open houses are on weekends. Can you do open houses during the week? Absolutely. Drive time open houses is a really powerful opportunity for you to set yourself apart from other agents. Because on Saturday and Sunday, there's open house signs everywhere, and especially in this market. But on Wednesday night at 5 to 7, there's not. So you could really corner the market, really create some opportunities for yourself there. right? But again, what I'm talking about today is DMO, daily method of operation. How are you going to set your business up to operate this way correctly? Right? Say, this is the way I'm operating my business, and designing it from the top down, saying, I'm going to work 8 hours a day, 4 days a week, or 5 days a week. And in these hours, I'm going to do this for this period of time. If you want to survive in this market, you've got to prospect 1 hour a day. A lot of you just heard me teach this in Aurora recently. Survival is 1 hour a day of prospecting. Really, to have growth is 2 hours a day of prospecting, 10 hours a week. And to have domination, to take market share, to increase your business 30, 40% this next year, is 3 hours per day. These are not negotiable numbers, I'm telling you, from a coach's perspective. 1 hour a day is absolute survival for you to stay in this business. If you don't do that, and you don't have a significant amount of repeat business where you're not spending a lot of money, then this is going to be a very tough market for you in the next 12 months. Just being real, trying to help. All right. So like I said, I want to open up the last, 7, 8, 10 minutes of this to questions, to Q&A, any way I could support, help you guys. I appreciate you being here. I love the faces on here. What's going on for you in this topic of DMO? What's going on in your schedule I can maybe help you with, coach you to, support you in? And small enough, I think you could probably just speak up or raise your hand if you want.
I'll start.
Hi, Hal.
Hi, how are you?
Doing amazing. Thank you.
That was fantastic.
Ask what kind of Teslas you looking at.
Jarrett wants to know what kind of Tesla you're looking at. He's a car guy.
It's all right. What's your question?
Question is, so with our business, I was just pulling up my numbers. This year so far, getting 60% of my business from YouTube, about 12% from past client referrals, and then all the rest are like under 10% for source. So with our DMO, that's, I guess, the primary way that we are prospecting. Like, do you have any suggestions on how to divide that? Because we've always operated on a DMO probably for the last, 8 years or something that we're together. And I think the YouTube part is hard. We have it on the calendar, but to be honest, we don't stick to it. And part of me is thinking about like, well, there's so many different aspects to using YouTube as prospecting, because you have filming, you have editing, you have posting, you have people. So would you just divide it up like certain days, do certain activities, or would you just do things that are as needed?
Such a great question. So let me turn it around for you a little bit. 60% of your business is YouTube. Let's say 60% of your business was open houses, right? Because that's a real tangible. You could say, hey, 60% of my business is open houses. Every open house we do, we get a client, or every 3 we do, we get a client, or every 6 we do, we get a transaction. There's math that we could apply to that, right? So it'd be the equivalent of you saying, we're just busy. I don't think we can get to open houses this week. But how? 60% of your business is open houses. It's critical.
I think I'm more so asking, like, so the open house is a good example. If you do open houses every Saturday and Sunday, then you're not prospecting 1 hour every day, because if all your business is
so 40-hour week, if you're in an open house 3 or 4 hours twice, that's 8 hours out of 40, right? You got 32 other hours, and your prospecting should be at least 10 hours of those extra 32 hours. Right. So that leaves you 22 hours for servicing buyers and sellers and showing houses and doing all in preparation. And in your world, I relate it to open houses because that's like, you can easily say, okay, this for that, right? Where YouTube, it's a big bunch of stuff. You've got prep, you've got to make content, you've got to develop content, you've got to look at algorithms, you've got to look at traffic flow, you've got to look at time of day, you got to watch views, you got to look at all these pieces that are valuable. But 60% of your business, if it's YouTube like it is, that's content driven. You've got to focus on 10 hours a week of content driven prospecting, right? Meaning that might be filming, that might positioning, that might be on purpose to it. And then you're measuring that to make sure that you're getting that kind of ROI and return from that activity.
So as long as in an example like that, where we're not cold calling, where I can say, okay, I sat down and did it for an hour. Cause like when we film, if we're doing from like concept to film, it takes several hours.
Yeah.
And so as long as we're just hitting those hours, it doesn't necessarily have to be like 1 hour per day.
Yeah, you have a couple KPI, key performance indicators you can measure. You can measure how many videos you're putting out a week, or how many engagements you're having a week, or how much time you're spending in front of the video and what that translates to. But you want to A/B test this a little bit. Like, so, say, for instance, you have living in Vancouver and then you have moved to Vancouver, or your two sites that you're looking at. Or it could be living in Vancouver and then you're doing two pieces of content and A/B testing those, right? So as you're doing this, your forward prospecting in this particular analogy is probably content driven. If 60% of your business is from YouTube specifically, and you're looking at that as a KPI measurable, you can say, okay, we have to put out at least 3, organic videos per week to keep the viewership up, to keep the views up, to keep the watch time up, to hit all those things. And then you can start tweaking that to get to where, like, okay, we're going to change the content and watch the view time to see if you get an increased view time or less view time.
Mhm.
So for you, your prospecting time could be outgoing to YouTube once you've developed those things. You might need to do 10 hours of filming and editing and all that to get the content done. But your prospecting could be inviting people to your YouTube. It could be following up with people that went to the open house and say, hey, by the way, we have a YouTube channel. It's super powerful. It's everything Vancouver. Have you seen it? That's an outgoing prospecting posture, but it's helping your big rock, which is YouTube.
Okay.
Right. And by the way, YouTube is amazing because it works 24 hours a day. Right. This is the beauty of it. Me doing a one-on-one call prospecting, whether I'm doing a farm or open house promotion, anything, it's 1-to-1 action. Yours is like 100-to-1 action, meaning that you could film an hour and get 100 hours worth of watch time from it 24 hours a day. Right. So for you, I would go all in on measurables in your business. So your daily method of operation is probably, it could be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It doesn't have to be every day of the week, but it's like, we're going to do 1 hour of filming, 1 hour of editing, 1 hour of promotion on each of those 3 days. So we're getting 9 hours of that activity this week, for instance. And then be very purposeful about that, where you're placing the YouTube, where you're watching the eyeballs that are sitting on it. When are they watching it? So you can then start promoting and posting it at specific times to take advantage of that. Is that helpful?
Yes, I think that's good. It kind of just clarified it for me. So
Yeah. And again, you have 60% is a pretty big number for your ROI on that YouTube. That's where you've got to spend most of your time, not in open houses, not in these other things that are under 10%. You want diversity. You want to have these 4 or 5 pillars in your real estate business, but they could be 2 or 3 pillars within a YouTube. And then it could be open houses, or it could be your sphere of influence and working your sphere of influence to make sure they're aware of your YouTube, right? That still requires a call, conversation, pushing them to that. All right. Awesome. Good.
As someone who had a lot of success early in my career with like SEO and web driven stuff, like pre-YouTube, I would say that you definitely want to continue to make that past client sphere pillar as important, because it can get addicting when you have this technology that just generates leads and they're incoming, is that you maybe won't develop that past client sphere component, and it's going to grow over time. I mean, it sounds like you've been at it for a while, but like if you're generating all that incoming business, that past client sphere becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And to where even if YouTube continues to rise, it won't be able to keep up from the referral based thing. So to me, that prospecting component could be almost 100% to that. And then the rest of your time goes to YouTube and you just crush with that.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick, for the input.
yes, thank you.
At the end of the day, it's a great example as we leave the call. It doesn't matter if you're doing YouTube, open houses, or you're working a farm and calling all the owners in a subdivision of 500 or 1,000 homes. It's being purposeful about your day, being purposeful about your daily method of operation, which you lay out as your perfect business, right? And then measure that stuff. You might find that open houses start outpacing your YouTube and you have to apply it correctly. But hopefully we find ways to have passive prospecting that's working 24 hours a day for us. That's the ultimate goal. All right. I love it. Well, thank you guys for being here, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you. And again, we're here every Monday. Bring somebody with you. Bring somebody that's struggling in business. We're going to talk about principles in real estate. We're going to do Q&A. And I just appreciate everybody being here. All right. Coach Byrd saying bye for now. See you next week. Have a great week. Go crush it. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Randy.
Jenny.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Randy.
Sonia, everybody that contributed. Thanks for being here. All right. Bye for now.